Hey guys, Late Night Dad Bods bringing you another patch notes video. Season 6 of Modern Warfare 2 did just launch a couple hours ago. Before we get into that, let me remind you we do stream over on kick.com/late night dad bods pretty much every night around 9:30 p.m. We'd love to have you drop in, click that follow button, drop a sub if you're able to, hop into the Discord and join the community. Without further ado, let's get into the patch notes. So there's a lot to unpack here. This is one of the best updates I think that I've seen for DMZ. So let's kind of get into this. They did go ahead and launch the beginning of the haunting, which is going to start on October 17th. So that's going to be really interesting. They're really talking about a lot of darkness that's going to be happening. So I think thermals is really going to have a big impact, even more than it already has. I mean, I pretty much exclusively run the SD Holotherm because I love the site. So I think it's going to be even more prevalent as we get into the haunting. Battle Pass had a ton of updates, got some new weapons in here that we're going to get into in just a minute. They do have a lot of new operator skins, blueprints, creepy vehicle skins, which are kind of cool, and the new operators too. So the first new operator they added in is Valeria. It's got a robot pet, which I'm not really sure how I feel about that yet. I don't really care either way. It's not really something that matters in DMZ unless you're doing an assassination. The next operator they added is Spawn. Everyone's been excited about Spawn. I think Spawn's one of the cooler ones that they've added into the game. It'll be interesting to see if they have Spawn with any kind of DMZ perks. So far with the collaborations that they've done, they really haven't had any DMZ perks with those characters. I would assume it's going to be the same here, but it'll be interesting to see if they finally do. The next operator that we have is Lilith. This is from Diablo 4. This is kind of cool. Another little collaboration thing that they've done with another game. I'm kind of excited about this. The next one right underneath that is, I don't know how you pronounce this, but Anarius. It's one of the archangels from Diablo. Again, really cool skin. We'll see what it brings. The next one a lot of people have been really excited about from Evil Dead 2, Ash Williams. I never played the game, honestly, but you know, it'll be interesting to see. The next operator they added in is Alucard Helsing. This one looks really cool, actually. It'll be really interesting to see if they have any kind of really cool animations to go along with the haunting with this character. The next one I think is a classic, everybody's favorite, Skeletor from He-Man. So that I think this is really cool. I think that this is one of the better ones that they've added into the game just from a you know, classic standpoint. All right, guys, now we're going to dive into the new weapons that they added into the game. There's some pretty interesting ones. The first one that they added is the TR-76 Geist. From past Modern Warfare games, I believe this was the TAR-21. It was always a real solid gun. And one of the interesting things about this gun, from what I've seen so far, is the fact that it actually looks like it's going to be pretty darn good. If we go into the weapons, you can see here, I've got the TAR-76 selected. If we go to the M13B, which I think everyone can agree has been kind of the meta for pretty much the whole time. They did a small nerf on it for a little while, but you know, once they removed that nerf and added a buff back last season patch, you know, that this gun's always been just one of the best guns in the game. So you can see here the M13B does have, you know, a relatively significant fire rate increase compared to the TAR-20 or the TAR-21 is what I call it. But the TAR-21's got more damage, it's got better range, a lot more accuracy, slightly less recoil, which the M13B has a beam for recoil, so I don't think that's going to be super significant. And it's got a decent bit more mobility than the M13B too. So I'm really interested to see what happens with this gun. I think that it's going to be an immediate contender for the meta, and we'll see, you know, what comes after that. All right, the next gun that we're getting into is the ISO 9mm. When I saw this in the leaks, I actually thought that this might be a contender for the F-Tech Siege as a handgun. But as you can see here, they did go ahead and put this gun in as an SMG. We'll see how it is. I haven't unlocked this one yet, but we'll see how good it is compared to the other SMGs. I have a feeling that this one's really going to be more of a contender with the Fennec, where it's going to be really, really close range and not be able to really beam people from distances. All right, the next new weapon that we're getting into is the dual Kamas, which is basically two scythes. This one's really cool, especially for the event. They look really cool. I mean, I think they're going to be just a standard melee weapon. I don't think it's going to be anything spectacular or anything, but they're really, really cool looking. I think that this is a really cool addition to the game. All right, guys, now we're going to get into the weapon balancing. There's a lot to uncover here. So last patch notes, you can see from the video that I posted, they really did try to push everyone towards the assault rifles again. Looks like with season 6, they're kind of abandoning that for the most part. The Chimera got a small buff, nothing major. The FR Avancer got a small buff. I do think that the FR Avancer is actually going to be first or second in the meta, behind the TR-76. I think that is probably going to be the meta, but I do think that the FR Avancer is going to be right up there with it, and we'll get into why. You can see down here the M13 got nerfed pretty hard. ISO Hemlock continues to get nerfed patch after patch. I really don't understand why. It's only got a 45 round mag, and if it had a 60 round mag, I think that it would be a really good gun. But with it only having 45 rounds, and with how much nerfing they've done to the gun, I just don't understand why they keep nerfing it. It's not a gun I've used for a long time. The Cast-Off 76-2 got, that tiny little buff on the close damage range, but everything else just got nerfed like crazy, which is understandable because the Cast-Off 76-2, for the really skilled players who could handle the recoil, it was arguably the best gun in the game. M13B sadly got a huge buff, or a huge nerf. Close damage decrease, close damage range decrease, close mid damage decrease, mid damage decrease. I mean, it just got nerfed hard. It's probably going to go back to where it used to be, where it was, middle of the row. Still a good gun because it's still a beam machine, but as you can see, the damage is going to be affected quite a bit. The M13C got 2 buffs actually, which is kind of interesting to see. The M13C I still don't think is going to be better than the B, mainly because the B's recoil is just non-existent. It's a laser beam compared to the M13C. M16, they continue to buff it, trying to beg people to use it. We're not going to use it. I mean, there's some people that run it for fun, I think. I don't think anyone actually runs this gun because they think that it's anything great. Getting into the battle rifles, the Chrono Squall got a small nerf again. I think that wasn't necessary. I think that they nerfed the crap out of it last patch, so I don't really understand the need to nerf it again. FTAC Recon, not a gun that I run. Some people enjoy it. It got a couple good buffs, which is nice to see, but again, not a gun that I run. The Lockman 7.62 got a lot of buffs. It'll be interesting to see if the Lockman 7.62 actually becomes something that gets used a lot now. The SO14 got buffed again. It got nerfed pretty hard last patch from what I remember. So I expect to see a lot of people running the SO14 again. The TAC V got nerfed like crazy last patch because it was hands down the meta to run. These buffs, it'll be interesting to see what it does to the gun. I don't think that I think that the really skilled players are going to start using it again. But again, this is kind of like the Cast-Off 7.62. The recoil pattern's a tough one. So if you're a really skilled player, then it's definitely a viable weapon. But if you struggle with recoil patterns, then I still don't think that you're going to use this gun. Dropping out into the handguns, I'm not crazy about the Basilisk buffs. I feel like we're going to go back into another patch where people are just running dual Basilisks again. And personally, I think that that's just cringe. And I never really liked the Basilisk. FTAC Siege took a couple little nerfs. I still don't think that it's going to really hurt the gun significantly, especially in DMZ, where I think where the FTAC Siege really shines is underwater. If you hop over to Kick, you'll see what I'm talking about because we do a lot of water warfare. The US Magna got mostly nerfs and one tiny buff. Again, I don't think that this is really a big deal. I don't know very many people who are running the GS Magna. The P890 got 4 nice buffs. This is one of the better pistols, I think, in the game. I do think that you'll probably see more people running this, probably in the dual variant, in the Akimbo. The X12 got a bunch of buffs too. The Daemon got nerfed. I never really used the Daemon, but I do know people who use the Daemon, and a lot of them really swore by the gun, so I understand why I got nerfed. The Desert Eagle got 3 buffs. Again, not many people are running the Desert Eagle, but we'll see how that affects the meta. Getting down into the shotguns, it really seems like they were trying to push people to use shotguns after the last patch. The Bryson 800 got a little bit of a buff. The 890 got massive nerf. with its range specifically. And I can understand why. I used to run the 890 like crazy. And the range was really, really nice. So I understand why they nerfed that. The Lockwood 300 got buffed. Not a shotgun that I see many people running either. This one's really interesting to me though. The MX Guardian got a lot of buffs, and I don't really understand why, because I feel like the MX Guardian was already pretty good. I know that they nerfed it a little bit last patch, but I think that they're over buffing it here. I think that it's gonna, I think what they should have done is actually nerf the KV broadside instead of buffing the MX Guardian, because if they would have nerfed the KV broadside, it would have made the MX Guardian more viable. And now I feel like they may have just made it to where if you're running either one of these shotguns, you're pretty much unbeatable in any kind of close quarters combat. And I know a lot of people are sick and tired of constantly getting, you know, demolished by a shotgun that takes no skill. All right, getting down into the sniper rifles, the Karak 300 got a lot of buffs. I understand why. Not many people like the Karak because it really doesn't do a whole lot of damage. So these buffs, I think, will actually make this one a little bit more viable. Shoots super fast, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Karak. Signal 50 got 2 nerfs. I don't really think that this was necessary. I just don't really see very many people running the Signal 50 in DMZ. I know that there's a lot more people that run it in Warzone, so that's probably why it got nerfed. But again, I didn't see many people running it in DMZ. The SPX got 4 nice buffs. I love this, to be honest, because the SPX, I love that sniper rifle. It's probably my favorite sniper rifle to run. And the thing that really has made it less viable is the fact that it really just doesn't hold up to the MCPR and some of the other guns when it comes to damage over range. SMGs, there's a lot of SMGs that got buffs. The BAS-P continues to get more buffs. It seems like they're really pushing people towards the BAS-P. I know a lot of people who really like the BAS-P. It's not my favorite SMG, but I understand why a lot of people like it. The Fennec mostly got buffs. It got close damage, mid damage, head damage multiplier buffs, and then it got a neck decrease for multiplier and an upper torso multiplier decrease. Overall, I think the Fennec will always be a good gun. I think that there's guns that are worse. I think there's guns that are better. I don't think that this really changes that too much. Lockman Shroud, I'm not really a big fan of this. I don't really know anyone who is, to be honest, because it's only a semi-auto or a burst SMG, and I mean, it's an SMG. SMGs are meant to be fully auto. I don't see this gun becoming anything in the meta for any period of time. The Minibot got a small buff, and the MX9 got a big buff. Not a big buff, but you know, decent buff. All right, guys, let's get into the DMZ specific patch notes here. So starting off, they're going to have Operation Nightmare. That's kind of to help you get prepared for the October 17th launch of The Haunting. The dark maps, I think, are going to be a lot of fun. It'll be real interesting to see if they keep the fog or not. If they keep the fog and make the map dark, I think that it's just going to become a thermal fest, even more than it already is with the fog. So that'll be real interesting to see what happens there. There's some really awesome stuff that they added, some stuff that we've been asking for a long time, and I think everyone's going to be real excited about it. So starting off, Assimilation now allows a maximum of 4 players per team. This is probably the thing that everyone has been waiting for in DMZ. I think that this is probably something that's going to actually bring more people back to DMZ. There's a lot of people that left because of the 6-mans. And I don't blame them. You know, one of the things that we do over on Kick, if you want to come over and see, we've also got a lot of YouTube content coming out with it, is we do a thing called Narnia, where we become a 6-man and then we send whoever the extra teammates are, we send them through the secret door to Narnia. I'm not going to get into too much detail on that, but we've got a couple YouTube shorts that are already out. Go check them out. You can now use dog tags to barter, your own dog tags to barter in DMZ. That's pretty interesting. I don't know how that's going to affect a lot, but I'm curious to see what that turns into, if that becomes prevalent. I've never really used dog tags to do bartering, but you know, we'll see if that changes anything. Hostages can't be put on dirt bikes anymore. Again, not a huge deal. You can now extract hostages on the drivable exfil chopper. So if you have the heavy chopper fuel, you can now exfil with the rescue hostage. That's pretty cool. They reduced the frequency of kill streaks found in loot. I actually understand why they did that. It was way too easy to find kill streaks. So I think that's a reasonable update that they did. I really like this one. Surviving a hunt contract now grants a UAV immediately to the hunted squad. So that's pretty cool, because you could be in a battle with somebody and you're 3 threat and they're trying to get to you as time's running out and they don't get to you. And now it's like, okay, you didn't succeed on your hunt. Now you're the hunted, because I can see exactly where you're at. Obviously, if they're hunting you with stealth vests, which is what I typically try to do, then it's not going to matter too much. But I still think this is a really cool addition. I think that a lot of people have been talking about the fact of surviving a hunt squad should have more rewards than it did before. So I like that addition to the game. All right, getting down into the DMZ buy station prices. This is interesting, and part of me really understands why, because I mean, I know for myself, I've got the $650,000 wallet stash already. I know a lot of people don't have that, but at the same time, if there's a lot of people who are up there where you get, you got $500,000 or more in your wallet, and I never drop below 400,000, mainly because if I do die, I'll bring in 70 to 100,000, use it, and then I end up exfilling with close to 100,000 again, and I just replenish the wallet real fast. So I can understand why they're doing this. I think that they're trying to push people to use their wallet stash more. Munition boxes went from 1,000 to 5,000. Gas masks went from 2 to 3,500. Medium backpacks went from 5,000 to 6,500. Large backpacks went from 30K to 50K, which is huge. 3-plate carriers went from 35 to 65. That's a massive jump. So if you're coming in trying to do a re-up and you want to go to the buy station, get large backpack and 3-plate carrier, instead of it only costing you 65,000 without your discounts, it's now going to cost you 115,000, which is a massive jump. So I think that actually is going to affect, when people are having to re-up. The airdrops, huge increase, 16,000 to 75,000. I mean, that is a massive increase. You're talking about almost 4 times what you used to pay, or over 4 times what you used to pay. That's crazy. But I mean, I can understand why the LTV, especially on Mazra, like you got an LTV, there's some certain streamers who I'm sure you guys watch. The LTV is kind of their go-to. UAV got massive, it's almost 10 times what it was before. UAV goes from 12,000 to 100,000. Advanced goes from 12,000 to $200,000. That's crazy to me, honestly. The advanced going to 200,000. The maximum you can hold on you is 250K. So like, there's no way that these two stay at 100 and 200, because that's too much of like what your maximum that you can hold is. If they increase the maximum that you can hold, then I can understand this. But at the same time, $200,000 for an advanced UAV, you can only carry 250, and that's if you're maxed out. So I think that they're going to be changing this down a little bit, maybe going down like to 75K for the UAV and 150K for an advanced UAV, but we'll see. Precision went up from 12 to 30,000. Cluster went up to 30,000, and Revive Pistol went from 7,500 to 10,000. This is going to be real interesting to see how much this affects DMZ specifically. I think a lot of these changes were more meant for, or would have been more prevalent for Warzone, but like I said, they're in DMZ, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. The bug fixes that they had on this patch, honestly, I didn't really think that any of them were all that great. One of the bug fixes that I was really looking for that doesn't look like they put in here is the weapon gun glitch. Whenever you spawn into a map, I'm still spawning into maps constantly where I'm missing my one of my guns, and then I have to do the weapon glitch to get it back. If you don't know how to do that, I'm going to be putting out a video soon on how to do the weapon glitch so that you can get both your guns back. Basically, the easiest way to remember is stow your current gun into your backpack, re-equip it. It'll get put into your secondary slot. Find a random gun that's on the ground, stow that gun into your backpack, and whenever you open up your backpack, the gun you just stowed will now be what you originally had in your first slot, and then you can just re-equip it. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Like I said, we do stream over on kick.com, usually around 9:30 at night, pretty much every day. We have a lot of fun over there. We try to keep it as clean as possible. A lot of us are, you know, either current military or veterans, so it does get a little bit, you know, we cuss a lot sometimes. But we really do try to have a lot of fun. We try to keep it as clean as possible, and we would love to have you come over and join the community. Hope you guys have a great day. See you next time.